I had a dream once, a bright, shimmering vision of what my life could be. It wasn't just a fleeting wish or a passing fancy. It was a fire that burned inside me, a voice that whispered possibilities when the world around me seemed silent. It was the kind of dream that took hold of your soul and wouldn't let go, but I couldn't chase it. No matter how much I wanted to, no matter how fiercely I yearned, the path was blocked. Life had other plans, and my dream slipped further and further out of reach, fading into a distant echo I could barely grasp. I remember the moment the dream first ignited. I was young, too young to understand how much the world could weigh on your shoulders. It started with a simple idea, a flicker of passion that grew into something more. Maybe it was the way my heart raced when I thought about it, or the endless nights I spent imagining what could be. That dream was a light in the darkness, a promise of something better. But as I grew older, reality began to press in. Responsibilities, expectations, fears, they formed a cage around me. I was told that dreams are for others, not for someone like me. That practicality must come first, that I had to be realistic. And so, with heavy steps, I began to set the dream aside, to bury it beneath layers of duty and compromise. The hardest part wasn't giving up on the dream itself. It was watching it fade, knowing I was letting go of a part of myself. It was the quiet moments when I caught a glimpse of what could have been, only to push it away because I was afraid. Sometimes, I wonder what my life would look like if I had dared to chase that dream, if I had been brave enough to step into the unknown. Would I be happier? Would I regret less? But there are no easy answers. The path I took was mine, shaped by choices I made and circumstances beyond my control. The dream I couldn't chase became a silent companion, sometimes a source of sorrow, sometimes a spark of hope. And even now, when the world is quiet and I'm alone with my thoughts, that dream whispers to me. It reminds me that the heart never truly forgets what it once desired, no matter how far the dream may seem. I still remember the exact moment when that dream first took hold of me. It wasn't something grand or flashy. It was a quiet afternoon in the library, surrounded by the faint scent of old paper and ink, where I stumbled across a book that spoke to something deep inside. The pages described faraway places, vibrant cultures, and stories of people who dared to follow their passions no matter the cost. I felt a spark ignite. A longing to be part of something bigger, to create, to explore, to chase a life that was more than just ordinary. From that day, the dream grew like a seed planted in fertile soil. It pushed its way through the cracks in my reality, demanding attention, begging me to nurture it. I spent countless nights sketching, writing, planning, and imagining the life I wanted to live. I talked about it with friends and family, hopeful they would understand. Some did, but many dismissed it as fanciful, unrealistic, or a distraction from what was important. The first real obstacle came quickly, a gentle but firm reminder from those who cared about me that dreams alone don't pay bills. You need to be practical, they said. Think about your future. Find a stable job. Build a life that's secure. I nodded, smiling politely, but inside I felt a tension growing, a tug-of-war between the dream's wild call and the heavy chains of responsibility. School became a balancing act, trying to keep the dream alive while meeting expectations that pulled me in different directions. I was told to choose a major that guaranteed a paycheck, not one that sparked passion. I took courses, attended lectures, but my mind was often elsewhere. On the stories I wanted to tell, the art I wanted to create, the journeys I longed to take. Years passed, and the dream became a quiet hum in the background. It was there, just beneath the surface, but I learned to silence it, to push it down whenever it threatened to disrupt the carefully laid plans I was supposed to follow. I took a job, a steady job, one that was safe but uninspiring. I told myself it was temporary, that someday I'd return to the dream. But days turned into months, and months into years. The dream I couldn't chase became a ghost haunting the edges of my life. Sometimes I felt trapped in a golden cage, safe, predictable, but suffocating. The world I had imagined growing up seemed like a distant star, beautiful but unreachable. I envied those who dared to chase their dreams, those brave souls who followed their passions even when the path was uncertain and the future unclear. The hardest part was the loneliness. The dream felt like a secret I couldn't share, a part of me that others didn't understand. I watched friends pursue their ambitions, celebrate their successes, and wondered if I was missing out on something essential, the chance to truly live. I was afraid of failure, afraid of disappointment, afraid that chasing the dream would mean losing what little stability I had. So I stayed safe, but at a cost I didn't fully realize until much later. There were moments when the dream called louder, when I found myself scribbling stories in notebooks, or watching documentaries about distant places, or simply staring out the window wondering what life could have been if I had taken a different path. Those moments were bittersweet, a mixture of hope and regret. One particular night stands out. I was alone in my apartment, the city lights flickering beyond the window. I pulled out an old sketchbook, filled with drawings and notes from years ago, when the dream still burned bright. As I flipped through the pages, memories washed over me, of who I was, who I wanted to be, and the road I chose to walk instead. Tears came unbidden. Not just for the dream I lost, but for the parts of myself I left behind, for the courage I never summoned, for the chances I didn't take. But even in that sorrow, I felt a strange sense of peace, because dreams don't always end in grand achievements or fame. Sometimes the dream is the journey itself, the yearning, the learning, the growth. I realized then that not chasing the dream didn't mean I failed. It meant I made a different choice, a choice shaped by love, by duty, by the realities of life. And that choice was valid too. The dream I couldn't chase became a part of my story, a chapter that shaped who I am today. It taught me about resilience, about acceptance, about the complexity of human desires. And now, when I look back, I see the beauty in the path I took, imperfect, winding, but mine. I kept that sketchbook tucked away, a secret relic of a past self who dared to dream without restraint. Sometimes, late at night, I'd pull it out and run my fingers over the worn pages, feeling that old spark flicker, fragile but not extinguished. Those moments were bittersweet reminders of what might have been, but also of the resilience it takes to live with dreams deferred. The years rolled on, and with each passing day, I found myself at a crossroads. The safe path I'd chosen was predictable and steady, yes, but it lacked the vibrancy that once defined me. I felt like a ghost drifting through my own life, watching opportunities pass me by while the dream I once held so close faded further into the background. It wasn't just the dream of a career or a creative pursuit. It was the dream of a life fully lived. A life where passion and purpose intertwined, where I wasn't just existing but truly thriving. But that dream seemed further away than ever. I tried to convince myself that stability was enough, that I was lucky to have what I had, a steady job, a home, people who cared about me. And in many ways I was. But there was an emptiness I couldn't ignore, a quiet ache that whispered in the silence. One day, as I sat in a cafe, watching the world bustle by, I noticed a group of young people animatedly discussing their plans, bold, ambitious, alive. They spoke of taking risks, chasing passions, refusing to settle. Their enthusiasm was contagious, and it stirred something deep inside me. I realized then how much I had let fear dictate my choices. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. I had traded dreams for comfort, passion for predictability. And while there's no shame in seeking stability, I knew I had lost something precious in the process. That realization was both painful and liberating. Painful because it meant acknowledging the sacrifices I'd made. Liberating because it meant I still had a choice. The dream I couldn't chase didn't have to be the end of the story. I began to explore what it meant to reclaim parts of myself, to find joy in small things, to nurture creativity, to connect with passions I'd buried. I took up painting again, tentatively at first, hesitant to believe I still had it in me. But with each brushstroke I felt a flicker of that old magic. I joined a writing group, surrounded by people who understood the hunger to create, to express, to be seen. Their stories inspired me, reminded me that dreams evolve, shift, and sometimes return when you least expect them. I started traveling, even if just for short trips. Each new place was a reminder that the world is vast and full of possibilities, and that it's never too late to seek new horizons. Through all this, I learned to be kinder to myself, to forgive the years spent in fear, and to celebrate the courage it took to keep moving forward. The dream I couldn't chase became a teacher, showing me that life is not just about reaching goals, but about embracing the journey, with all its twists and turns. I won't say the dream is forgotten. It still whispers to me in quiet moments, a reminder of the fire that once burned so brightly. But now I hold it differently, not as a source of regret, but as a symbol of hope and possibility. Because even if I couldn't chase that dream then, I've learned that dreams can take many forms. They can wait patiently in the wings, ready to be pursued when the time is right. They can transform into new passions, new paths, new beginnings. And sometimes, the dream we couldn't chase is simply the seed of the dream we are still growing. The hardest part was learning to accept that some dreams don't come true the way you imagine. They don't unfold like the stories you read or the movies you watch. Instead, they twist and bend, sometimes breaking before you can reach them. But in breaking, they leave behind pieces of who you are, fragments that shape your future in unexpected ways. I remember sitting by a small lake one autumn afternoon, the trees around me ablaze with fiery reds and golds. The crisp air was filled with the scent of fallen leaves and distant wood smoke. I watched ripples dance across the water's surface, realizing that, like the lake, my life was ever-changing, sometimes still, sometimes turbulent. My dream had been a wave I chased, but now I saw it as part of the larger current of my existence. There was no shame in having a dream I couldn't chase, only in refusing to live fully because of it. I began to let go of the rigid ideas I'd held about success and happiness. I started embracing small victories, a painting finished, a new friendship formed, a day spent exploring somewhere new. These became the threads weaving a new tapestry, one richer and more nuanced than the dream I'd once held so tightly. Slowly, I began to build a life that honored both who I was and who I wanted to become. I cultivated passions that fit into the reality I lived, writing late into the night, capturing moments in photographs, volunteering for causes that stirred my heart. The dream I once thought was lost had transformed into a life I was still eager to live. I still carry the ache of what might have been, that flicker of what if that visits in quiet moments. But I've learned that dreams aren't always about reaching a destination. Sometimes they are about the courage to keep moving forward, to keep seeking meaning even when the path is uncertain. The dream I couldn't chase taught me resilience. It taught me to listen to the whispers of my heart, even when they seem faint. It taught me that it's never too late to start again, to redefine what fulfillment means on my own terms. And so, I keep dreaming. Not the same dream I had when I was younger, but a new one, shaped by experience, by wisdom, by the beautiful imperfections of life. It's a dream that doesn't demand perfection or guarantee success, but one that invites me to live authentically, passionately, and with an open heart. That dream is still alive inside me, quietly burning, waiting for the moment when I'm ready to chase it again. Not with the reckless abandon of youth, but with the steady determination of someone who knows that every step, no matter how small, is part of the journey. The years that followed were a gradual unfolding of discovery. I began to understand that life doesn't always give you what you want, but it does offer you what you need, sometimes disguised in unexpected ways. I found that the dream I once believed was the pinnacle of happiness had evolved, shaped by my experiences, my losses, and my growth. I took small steps toward embracing this new reality. I started attending workshops, meeting people who shared my interests, but also understood the complexity of balancing passion with practicality. Their stories were different but familiar, tales of compromise, resilience, and quiet victories. In their company, I found solace and inspiration. I picked up my old camera again, dusting off the lens to capture moments that spoke to me. A child's laughter, the way sunlight filters through leaves, the subtle emotions written on strangers' faces. Photography became a way to see the world anew, to connect with beauty even in ordinary places. It wasn't the grand dream I once chased, but it was enough to light a fire inside me. Writing, too, found its way back into my life. Not the perfect novel or acclaimed work I had once imagined, but personal essays, journals, reflections that helped me process my journey. Words became my refuge, a way to articulate the hopes and fears I had tucked away. Through writing, I discovered that sharing my story could be healing. Not just for me, but for others who struggled with dreams deferred. There were moments of doubt, of course. Times when the old ache returned, the sting of what might have been if I'd been braver, if I'd taken different risks. But I learned to sit with those feelings without letting them consume me. I accepted that some dreams are seeds planted in the soil of life, growing in unexpected ways, sometimes blooming in forms we didn't anticipate. I met people who challenged me, who saw beyond the surface, who encouraged me to redefine success on my own terms. Their belief in me was a balm to the parts of myself that still wondered if I was enough, if my dreams mattered. Through it all, I came to see that the dream I couldn't chase wasn't a failure. It was a foundation. It grounded me in reality while reminding me to keep reaching for the stars in my own way. It taught me the value of patience, perseverance, and self-compassion. And most importantly, it taught me that life's greatest dreams often aren't destinations, but journeys, continuous, evolving, filled with twists and turns, losses and gains. Now, when I look back, I no longer see the dream I couldn't chase as a regret, but as a chapter of growth. It's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, to the courage it takes to hold on to hope even when the path is unclear. I carry that dream with me, not as a burden, but as a beacon, a reminder that within me lies the strength to dream again, to create meaning from the fragments of my past, and to embrace the unknown with open arms. The dream I couldn't chase was never truly lost. It lives in every choice I make, every risk I take, every moment I dare to believe in possibilities. And with that, I step forward, not chasing a distant dream, but walking a path of my own making, guided by the light of hope and the wisdom of experience. As I stand now, looking back over the years, I see a journey marked not by a single triumphant moment, but by countless small steps. Steps taken in courage, in doubt, in hope, and sometimes in surrender. The dream I once chased with all my heart may have slipped from my grasp, but it shaped me in ways I never expected. It taught me about resilience, about the complexity of life, and about the beauty of holding space for dreams, even when they change form. I've come to understand that chasing a dream isn't always about reaching a destination. Sometimes it's about learning who you are along the way, about discovering what truly matters when the spotlight fades and the noise quiets. The dream I couldn't chase opened a door to self-awareness and a deeper kind of fulfillment, one that doesn't rely on external achievements but on inner peace. There were times when I felt lost, when the gap between where I was and where I wanted to be seemed too wide to cross. But those times were also when I grew the most. I learned to embrace uncertainty, to trust in the process, and to find joy in the moments that didn't come with guarantees or applause. My life today is not the life I envisioned when that dream first ignited my soul. It is different, quieter, perhaps, but richer in ways I hadn't imagined. It is filled with connections that nourish me, with passions that evolve, and with a sense of purpose that is deeply personal and grounded in reality. And though the dream I couldn't chase still whispers to me in moments of stillness, it no longer haunts me. Instead, it reminds me to keep dreaming, to keep hoping, and to keep moving forward with an open heart. I have learned that some dreams are seeds planted to help us grow, even if they never bloom in the way we expect. They are invitations to explore, to take risks, and to redefine what success means on our own terms. As I close this chapter of my story, I carry with me gratitude for the dream I couldn't chase, for the lessons it taught me, the strength it revealed, and the person it helped me become. And with that gratitude, I step into the future, ready to dream again, in new ways, with new courage, and with the wisdom born from the path I've traveled. Because sometimes the most important dream is the one that teaches us how to live fully, right where we are.